You ever watch your peaceful life go up in smoke over something as dumb as a boat? No. Well, buckle up. Because the day two cop cars came barreling down my ranch road, sirens wailing, dust flying, I thought maybe a cow had gotten loose or the neighbor's kid crashed his dirt bike again. But nope, it was Karen Mitchell. Yeah, that Karen. President of the Silver Ridge Estates, HOA, queen of the clipboard, destroyer of all things fun. She was standing there in her power suit, sunglasses glinting like she was about to interrogate me for a spot on Law and Order Ranch Victims Unit. The two officers tried to look official, but the older one kept glancing at her like he was wondering if this was really the emergency call he'd signed up for. Meanwhile, Karen had that smug little smirk like she'd already sentenced me to life without parole for the crime of owning a boat. "Sir, we received a report of an unauthorized watercraft violating community regulations," one of the cops said. I had to bite my lip not to laugh. Community regulations on my land, I looked at Karen. She didn't know it yet, but in half an hour I'd own her world. Funny how life hands you the script sometimes. Before I get too deep, let me set the scene. I'd just finished backing my brand new bass boat into the water on my private ranch lake. Sun, sparkling air, smelling of pine and freedom. I'd built the ramp myself, right where the mist burns off the water every morning. I sold my tech company 5 years ago just to have mornings like that. No phone calls, no deadlines, just quiet until Karen. You can leave suburbia, but suburbia will chase you down if you buy land next to the wrong HOA. My place is called Clearwater Ranch. 100 acres, big old oak trees, and a blue lake you could mistake for a slice of sky. It's the kind of place that slows your heartbeat. You'd think people would mind their own business out here. Silver Ridge Estates is next door, gated community, perfect lawns, houses so identical you need GPS to find your own garage. Their HOA might as well be the Supreme Court of Petty. Karen's the high priestess of that HOA, always dressed like she's headed to a Senate hearing. I'd only seen her twice before the boat saga. First time she came to my gate, said my gravel road set a bad visual precedent. I reminded her my land wasn't part of Silver Ridge, never would be, and shut the gate before her hairspray fumes could drift over. Second time, she posted a sign claiming their residents had lake access on my land. I mailed it back, folded neatly with a note, "This road existed before your subdivision. Stay on your side." So when she showed up, as I launched my boat phone out, eyes narrowed, I shouldn't have been surprised. "You can't park that here," she barked as if the water would boil at her command. I just blinked at her. "My boat, my lake, my rules, Karen." She pointed past the trees at houses barely visible in the distance. "It affects our view. We pay for lakefront aesthetics." Her voice had this tremble like I'd just built a strip mall next to her rose bushes. That boat, I'd promised myself for years I'd get it a little gift after a lifetime of working weekends. I planned to fish, maybe pull my nephew on a tube in the summer. It wasn't some noisy party barge. But Karen whipped out her phone, dialed the police, put them on speaker, and started talking about unauthorized vessels disturbing the peace. I nearly choked on my coffee from laughing. 10 minutes later, the cops rolled up. Karen practically saluted as they got out. There he is, launching a commercial boat on HOA water. The older officer scratched his chin, looked at her, then at me. "Ma'am, this is private property. He owns the lake." Karen started flipping through a stack of papers, babbling about environmental code section something or other. I popped my truck's glove box, handed over my property deed. "Check the map," I said, trying not to grin. The officer took one look, nodded, and turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, this is outside your jurisdiction." She turned beet red. "Well, it's still unsightly. It ruins the view." The younger cop snorted. "That's not really illegal, ma'am." Then she hissed, "My husband owns the Marina where you bought that boat. Maybe you won't find a place to dock anywhere in this county." That's when the light bulb went off. This wasn't about a boat, not really. It was about power, territory, fear, the kind you only see in people who are losing their grip. The officers left apologizing for the trouble. Karen stared daggers at me. "This isn't over," she said like a villain at the end of the first act. And buddy, she was right. Next week, I get a letter official, HOA stationary signed President Karen Mitchell. Apparently my marine vehicle violated shared lake access agreements. She threatened legal action. It was so ridiculous I nearly framed it. Then she started showing up with backup, a wiry vice president, an old security volunteer who looked like he wrote parking tickets for fun. They left notes, Violation warnings even zip-tied a notice to my gate. At one point, I found her down by the water with a tape measure muttering about shoreline assessments for her environmental subcommittee. I told her to get off my land or I'd call the sheriff. She stomped away, screeching about community aesthetics. Then came the big guns, county code enforcement. 2 officers looking like they'd rather be anywhere else said Karen had reported me for building an unregistered dock, expanding my land and polluting shared waters. They poked around for 10 minutes, read my paperwork, and told her again she had no authority here. Her face turned so red I thought she might combust. But here's where it gets good, the twist. See, after one of these run-ins, I noticed a little emblem on the back of Karen's SUV, Mitchell Marina and Boating Supply. Huh. So I called the marina where I'd bought my boat. "Is this the same Mitchell as Karen?" I asked. "Yes, sir," the receptionist said, sounding weary. Turns out Karen and her husband Tom owned the place and it wasn't doing so hot. That night something clicked. She wasn't just being a busybody, she was protecting her business. If she could keep outsiders off the lake, make life miserable for anyone not paying her fees, she'd control both the water and the money. It was a protection racket with a coat of HOA paint. Now, I've dealt with sharks before, just not usually in boat shoes. I started digging. County records showed the Silver Ridge HOA didn't own an inch of my lake. In fact, their legal boundaries stopped 50 feet short of my shore. But Mitchell Marina, that business was behind on taxes, up to its ears in debt to Ridgeview Bank, the kind of trouble that makes a loan officer sweat through their tie. So I called up an old friend, David Ross, a lawyer who loves nothing more than a good underdog story. I showed him the records. "You ever see someone try to annex a lake by pure attitude?" He just laughed. "You want leverage? Buy their loan." The idea was so absurd it might just work. I spent a weekend gathering evidence, every letter, every fake violation, every contract between the HOA and Karen's friends who got paid for jobs that never happened. David reached out to Ridgeview Bank. Turns out they were desperate to offload the headache. 2 days, a pile of paperwork, and a not insignificant wire transfer later, my trust, Clearwater Holdings, owned Mitchell Marina's debt. The whole shebang, the docks, the note, the sleepless nights. Now, I didn't want to ruin them for sport. I wanted them to feel what it's like when someone else holds the reins. That next morning, I called Karen. "Let's resolve our dispute. Meet at the marina." She agreed, voice icy. Brought Tom, her lawyer, the whole gang. They tried to hit me with a $5,000 environmental compliance fee, said they'd let me keep using the lake if I paid up and tore down my dock. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. "Actually, you 3 are about to realize this meeting isn't what you think." I slid my folder across the table. "As of yesterday, Clearwater Holdings owns the promissory note and mortgage for this marina. Your business debt you owe me now." Karen's jaw dropped. Tom went pale. The lawyer started sweating bullets. "You have 30 days to pay up or vacate. Otherwise, foreclosure proceeds." They tried blustering, threatening lawsuits, but it was game over. Their empire built on threats and paper fines collapsed in a single afternoon. What came next was almost poetic. Karen tried to rally the HOA, but once word got out about the debts, the misused funds, the way she'd bullied anyone who questioned her, folks who'd been scared to speak up started coming out of the woodwork. Board members called an emergency meeting, voted her out, suspended her powers pending a county investigation. She stormed out shouting about conspiracies. Her SUV sat parked by my gate that night, just a shadow watching the lake she'd tried so hard to own. The county audited the marina and the HOA. The newspaper ran a headline, "HOA, President under investigation for embezzlement. The marina officially mine." First thing I did, kept the workers fix the docks and put up a new sign, "Clearwater Community Marina. Open to everyone. No more gatekeeping, no more extortion, just waterfish and families having fun again." Tom, to his credit, stuck around. Ran the docks, fixed boats, treated folks right. He told me she wasn't always like this. Power, it changes people. Or maybe it just shows who they really are. I nodded. Yeah? Or maybe we just forget what matters, chasing after control we never really had. I'd like to say Karen learned her lesson. Last I heard, she moved 2 towns over, sold her house, started over. Maybe the lake finally reflected something back at her she didn't want to see. Me, I learned a thing or two myself. Revenge isn't about burning someone down. It's about restoring what should have been there all along: decency, fairness, a sense of belonging. The lake, the marina, the community, they're all better off now. Not because someone lost, but because we remembered what winning really means. Sometimes justice comes slow. Sometimes it comes with a stack of paperwork and a well-timed phone call. But it always comes if you're patient enough, if you stand your ground, and if you don't let fear or a Karen make you forget who you are. So tell me, where do you draw the line between standing up for yourself and becoming the thing you hate? Is there ever a right way to fight back against power gone wrong? Or does karma do it better? I want to hear your stories, your battles with Karen's bosses, bullies. Drop them in the comments below. And if you found a little satisfaction in watching justice served, go ahead and like, share, or subscribe. Because let's be honest, peace belongs to the patient, but karma never misses a deadline.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.